It is time to expand minds through movies, TV, sports, and flicks. It is time to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. It is time for the Captain Talks Flicks.
The Captain Talk Flicks.
Welcome to the Captain Talks Flicks podcast. I'm your host, the Captain Cortez, aka Mr. Love, and this is where we talk flicks. And ladies and gentlemen, this past week, I went back to Virginia. And in Virginia, I went to the place called Langley. I went out in the public and pretended to be something I wasn't because I was being an operations officer running knocks and agents, so we can get information for the United States of America. Yeah, I did that. No, I did not. I didn't do that. But what I did do is I saw the agency on Paramount Plus. I did see that. And I've been talking about it last week, so you guys know what's going down. So anyways, I watched the agency. I'm going to get to that, but first couple things. I want to give a big shout out to Newark, New Jersey. Got some place Newark this past week. Gracias, gratitude, toda. Now, Newark, New Jersey, I know that you guys are home of the Temple of Hip Hop, founded by KRS-One and a bunch of other awesome hip hoppers. If you guys don't know this, I am part of the hip hop culture, and I try to adhere to the values, morals, and principles that the Temple of Hip Hop, talks about. We talk about the 4 elements of hip hop. We're talking about the lifestyle and represent hip hop in a very, very positive way. And if you are a Temple member and you're hearing this, I hope I'm doing that. I'm trying my best. Now, I do have my own unique spin on hip hop, and it does tread interesting, spaces, places, but I do try to stay as true to the values and the morals and principles that are outlined by the Temple of Hip Hop, and I just do that every day. So thank you very much, New Jersey, Gracias, gratitude, and additionally, this episode is brought to you by the song called 250 by me, Che Cortez. It's me rapping in unique style over synthy hip hop type beats. In this particular song, 250, I talk about it's the 250th anniversary of America. Now, I know a lot of thoughts and beliefs about this whole particular space we're in. And I know there's some ugliness, right? I get that. But there's also some positives. So I'm currently here in this country, right? And so I try to accentuate the positive, right? And the positive is I get the podcast. In certain regions and spaces on planet Earth, you cannot do what I'm doing here. You can't do a lot of different things that we can do here. Now, is there some ugliness there? Like I said, yes. But we can do a lot of things they can't do in uglier places. Go try living in North Korea or some of these other spaces. You're probably not doing this, I'm just saying. And I did the song 250 just kind of to appreciate, what I can do here. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, guys. Gratitude for hearing this off with the link below. Now, let's get on the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, first, before we get into the agency this week, I want to tell you guys this. Friday, July 10th was the anniversary of this podcast. I have been doing this for 12 years. 12 years since 2014. This podcast has been produced every year. I've been doing this for 12 years, which is a whole school career. Basically go to school and graduate from high school, it's like 12 years. I really did that. I've been doing this over and over and over again. Endlessly. I just started and never quit. And it's fun. Like I told you guys many times this podcast back in the day, I legitimately went to school to be a radio DJ. For real, I took the classes, learned how to splice tape, learned how to, do the little DJ thing, time things out, make commercials, did all that. Never got my degree because I quit. Yeah, I was a quitter. But this time I did not quit. And 12 years later, 800 some episodes later, I am still doing podcasts. And the listenership is going up. Yes. And I appreciate all you guys for hearing me talk about crazy theories about various things on cinema and TV. We go down some really interesting rabbit holes in this particular podcast. And sometimes they walk the line of madness. But like I say all the time, sometimes you gotta walk the line of madness to become the badness. So anyways, if you've heard this podcast many times before, I appreciate you. And if it's your first time, I appreciate you as well. I do this podcast to expand minds and hopefully get us to a better space, better place, financially, emotionally, spiritually, any kind of itually you can make. I want us all to do better. I want your family to do better, you to do better. I want us to make better choices. This is the goal of this podcast. So thanks for joining me. And so while we explore the agency this week, I'm looking for maybe lessons and things that we can use to level up our life and just do a little bit better. So thanks, listen, I appreciate it. Now let's get into the agency. So like I said, this week, I saw another episode of the agency. This one was Dead End. And now we're continuing the story that's going on second season of basically Martian, played by Michael Fassbender. and he's dedicated to trying to save his lady, or save a lady that he's really, really infatuated or in love with. Because when he was doing his thing overseas, being a case officer, assuming a different identity, he literally fell in love with his mark, his agent, and so much that he's basically turned his back on anybody he knows in order to save her, keep her protected. I mean, he did this. And in the world of spying and espionage, you shouldn't be doing this. This is a well-known rule. But a lot of TV shows and movies go that they explore all the time. Now, simultaneously, there's other officers overseas doing other work with different goals. So these intelligence agencies, whether we're talking about the CIA, DIA, whatever A you want to talk about, overseas, here, America, Canada, any country that is large and has a lot of money, resources, generally they have some kind of intelligence agency. And they're all doing what we see in the show, just, different label on the shirt, different hats. I said in one podcast a while back, it's just like different baseball teams. Essentially, it kind of is in a way. And I even heard a person in the game that said the exact same thing I said. I didn't make this up. I've got this from the experts that really live the life, and they say the same thing. Because I've studied this quite a bit. But anyways, that being said, now what I'd like to do on this podcast is explore certain things I see in the episode. Kind of want to dive a little deeper and see if we can learn something from what's going on in the show. There's a couple things I want to talk about. Okay, first I'm going to talk about this. Over the years, I've really been diving into trying to increase my investment portfolio, right? So I wanted to increase my money, my assets, and through this, I discovered that maybe investing in certain things, like in the stock market or whatever, would improve my wealth. Okay, so I've been doing this for years. And first of all, I'm not a financial advisor, I might give you advice, but this is what I've been doing. So I've been trying to invest in things that bring more money. Now on that path, I've discovered that basically Africa, the country of Africa, is kind of wide open as far as maybe a lot of corporate interests are not in there as much as other countries. So the thing about this is that, like China, us, the United States of America, Russia, et cetera, are all jockeying and vying to try to get in the space and have a major foothold in the space. So we can soft power and resources. We kind of want to get something out of that space. And the countries that's named are all doing it. They're all kind of vying for the space because it's kind of wide open. Now, this is the last I researched. It may have changed in the last whatever months since I looked at it. But when I looked at it last, this was going on. Now, in the show, The Agency, it kind of does reflect that because during the story, a lot of this is taking place in Africa. And it does kind of seem to mirror the research I've been looking at over the last few years about what's going on in Africa. I studied very hardcore looking for assets I could invest in over that space. And there's a lot of things going on there. I did a podcast a while back how in Nigeria, they got like a Hollywood kind of thing over there where there's a lot of Nigerian movies being made and say it does really well. I think Disney did a project that was based there as well a while back. I haven't seen it. I do want to watch that. And so I had said a while back that Africa was going to come up. Have you ever heard of Afrobeats? This is like a sound that is so dope. I discovered maybe like 6-7 years ago and I listen to it pretty regularly. But that sound of Afrobeat, I felt back then it's just a matter of time before it just is everywhere. And I think it's on that path because the sound of it, just the culture, the sounds, the resources of that space, it's inevitable that's just going to reach the globe more than it has now. And I think the countries I named, us included, are understanding that. And we kind of want to be in the game when that happens. So it's interesting how my research in the real world mirrors slightly or kind of relates to what's in the show. And generally, when you watch TV shows, a lot of the stuff you see does relate to the real world because these guys do a lot of research. These writers research a lot to kind of make it more in sync with what's going on a lot of times. A lot of times they do that. Even in sci-fi, they do this. So it's very cool to see that, what I've been reading and hearing kind of, is synced up or kind of relates to what's on the show. So that's very cool. And that being said, if you know Rhyme Artist, dude, I rhyme with, famous in there. I know some other cats that just descend from the area. Very cool people, very skilled people, very awesome people. I appreciate all that. I met a lady from the Congo, I think, this week. Very cool lady as well. Just there's a lot of cool folks in that space. Very cool. And I appreciate having a chance to talk with you and work with you. Some of you guys I work with, like, Rhyme Artists. You dope artists, by the way. I can't wait for your next project. And so, yeah, that's going on. So very cool. It's just kind of, you may want to explore that. And it's just nice how they went there. I love that. So to switch gears, the second thing I want to talk about is this. So when they take these case officers, the guys that go overseas, have to have assumed names, different names of their real name, and they have to operate within, certain regions that are outside of their home country. In this case, it's America. These are Americans operating in countries that aren't their own, taking on different names to achieve different goals, right? And there's a certain set of skills that you may have to have in order to do this. But what I found interesting, though, in this particular episode is that different approaches were kind of taken going towards this, right? But one of the case officers named Owen is a little hesitant when they lay out the plan we're supposed to do in this episode. He's like, well, there's the plan. We'll do this. asking tons of questions. Should I do this? Should I do that? Even a little hesitant. More of a planner, right? More of a planner, wants to know more information, but he goes into the space, right? So I get that. And there's a lot of hesitancy on this gentleman. Now, the other lady, who they call Grandma, I can't remember her real name, she has a different approach. She's kind of like, well, here's the mission. All right, let's get it. So Grumman got pulled from the field to be debriefed and kind of refresh, what the game plan was. Anyways, when it's time to go back to the field, one of the superiors come to her and say, hey, we're going back to the field. Let's go. I mean, there was no questions, no wondering. I mean, she was like ready to go. And then Michael Fassbender's character's like, oh, you're an addict now. I mean, because she's just ready for the adrenaline, the rush of it all, right? The whatever. And there's a scene in there where she's being debriefed. And she said when she was like in captivity, she was so comfortable with it. She didn't care. She wasn't concerned because she just knew she would be all right. She had that belief in her system that she just knew she would be okay. She had that David Goggins belief. And I'll be honest, it did seem to have that David Goggins belief that she said, I know I'll be all right. I don't care. I will not stop. I will not quit. I just will do whatever it takes in order to achieve what I have to achieve. And she has that mindset. So we kind of see two different views of way going into that. And I don't think I've seen those two different approaches, right? Well, at least I wasn't aware of it. And it should be interesting to see how they show how these operations turn out. I'm unclear what the better approach is, to be honest, because I use a little bit of both. Kind of depends on the situation. Me as an individual, living my regular life, and you as well. I mean, there's certain situations where maybe you want to do a lot of prep and planning. In a certain situation, we want to just rush in boldly, as they would say in this Book of Samurai, and just go with the flow and just get into it and just kind of improvise. And I can do both, but I'm unclear in the world of espionage if there's one approach that's better than the other, or it's a blend. I don't know. This should be very interesting to see how this plays out. And I've done a lot of research and reading and I've not really heard really definitively what the best approach might be. Now, we'll bring it back to martial arts. Are there crafts? As they say, once you learn the basics and the rules and everything you've learned, just throw everything out. It just gotta do whatever. And I feel that kind of leans more into Grumman's space. But I don't know, but you also gotta be cautious. It's very, very interesting to see this on the screen, to see how this is gonna play out. But anyways, in our regular lives, like I said, somebody's got a plan, somebody's just kind of go with the flow and just know you'll be all right. But I do think in general, it's better to have the belief that I'm just gonna be okay. Because in the scene with Owen, the information that Owen doesn't have, the team has it. The team says, hey, just trust us, we got this. So this is very interesting. I could talk on it for days. But I feel, how this plays out, there's a lot of lessons that we can learn and use in our regular life. So anyways, great episode, great show. The agency is super solid. I'm loving it. It's a American version of The Bureau. Now, of course, now it's me and many others, The Bureau is the best spy show of all time. But this agency is pretty solid. As the more I watch this, it is very solid. I love the tradecrafters showing the modern tradecraft, which we don't get to see a lot in the older shows. This is very cool. I'm loving it. I'm all in. But I was in last season, Bureau. I'm not new to this. I watched it last season as well. I just loved it last season. You know what I mean? I think Michael Fassbender plays a great spy. If you haven't seen Black Bag, you should check that out as well. Which is a spy movie I think came out last year, this year. I don't remember what year it came out. But it came out sometime, and that's always great. So anyways, I appreciate you guys all listening. Thank you very much. The listenership goes up. Every time I look at stats, there's always some reach and place I'm very surprised by. I'm getting a lot of plays in my home state. Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys. Yeah, so thank you very much. And I'm going to continue this and continue to go forward. And one additional thing too, I haven't been doing 2 a week because I've been out here enjoying the nice weather, going to beaches, arcades, playing games, trying to live a little bit. So that's why the amount of podcasts is dipped slightly. Cap got to have fun sometimes, right? So but I guarantee there'll definitely be one on Sunday. Wednesday's kind of hit or miss. Why these summer months are going on, because in Michigan, once the winter hits, it's cold, they ain't going nowhere. So anyways, I appreciate you all. Thanks for listening. And until next time, we'll see. Life goes on within you and without you. George Harrison. Till next time, it's Captain Peace.
The Captain Talks.